For our mini lesson, we're going to be using GIST, generating interactions between schemata and text. This is really just a basic way to summarize large paragraphs into smaller paragraphs and give the students the opportunity to define words that they may or may not know already.
Okay, so for GIST for the lesson, we're going to be paring down a sample from a music history textbook about naturalism in the classical era. In the first paragraph, we will put up the paragraph later in the slide, but we're going to be highlighting words that have a important meaning, that are keywords to what the sentence or the paragraph will want to imply. So, for the first thing, we're going to highlight classical, and classical was applied retrospectively because of the fact that when we're talking about the labeling of the era, since it was applied later on than when it happened, that is a key important term to understanding it. Then, looking through, we will look at the rest of the sentences and see what applies to that first topic sentence. Music critics and historians would be something to highlight as well, since it has to do with the label. The golden age is what it will translate into, and that has to apply to the classical term. Haydn and Mozart were two famous composers in this era, and thus their names also get highlighted. And for underlining terms or phrases that we do not understand, we would then probably underline contemporaries for students who don't know what that means. And then translating this onto the board for the words that we have with period labels, classical, golden age, and then the two composers, which are Haydn and Mozart. So for students learning GIST, we would then put these words that would summarize that whole entire paragraph that we had into a label, into a paragraph, so that it would be in their own words with 20 words or less. So then the sentence would probably look like the classical period, also known as the golden age, was a time where composers like Haydn and Mozart lived. Thus, this sentence would then be the first paragraph that the students would write.
This process can be repeated for every paragraph that the students need to read. At the end of it all, they can take all the smaller paragraphs or sentences that they've written and combine them to make one bigger paragraph so that they can outline either a whole chapter or a whole section of a book. This process is very beneficial because it breaks things down for students a lot more. It gives them the opportunity to have a basic understanding of what's going on in the text despite difficult words or words they just don't know. This can be very beneficial to English language learners as they first may be able to use their native language to do the summaries, and then slowly can translate it into English and just begin using English.